Okay, let's have a look at rate. I've received a few questions on the blog about rate and what rate is. So we'll quickly review what rate is, and I'll do a few simple examples here to give you a model on how to determine what a rate might be. Okay, so let's first start off with the definition. So what is a rate? A unit rate describes how many units of the first type of quantity corresponds to, and this is very important, 1 unit of the second type of quantity. The goal in finding rate, comparing rate, everything that we're going to be doing with rate is that last little piece there, getting the second term to be 1. So once we've converted our second term into 1, we can then compare it to other rates of a similar unit. So if we were to look around our regular lives to try and find places where there are rates, we would see them on the highway, 100 kilometers per hour. That's a single rate. We would see them in grocery stores. If you see unit rates, you'll see large cans of tomato sauce compared to smaller cans of tomato sauce. And if you look on the label, sometimes it'll say price per 100 grams. So you can say which is the better deal, to buy the 200 gram or ounce can of tomato paste or the 150 gram or ounce can of tomato paste. But we'll start off with some simple questions and just look at how we would go about turning that second rate into 1 as a starter. So the 3 examples that I have here, I'm sure that you can probably look at and immediately tell me what those are. And that's great mental math. But the first step is understanding the math that's used to get that term to 1. I'd like you to think about rates kind of like fractions. If we were to write this rate, this one right here, $75 in 3 hours, out as a rate is represented, we would say that it is $75, that's the dollar symbol there, indicates dollars, and this slash means per 3 hours. That would be how we would represent it as a rate. We would read that slash as a per. But realistically, it's kind of like a fraction tilted on its side. So if we were to turn that into a fraction, no longer on its side, and we were to take that .00 or the dollar symbol out of it, and we want to get our second term to be 1, we would do the same thing that we do with all fractions. What you do to one, you have to do to the other. Remember when we were doing decimals and percent conversion, we had to work with turning that bottom number into 100. And how did we do that? We multiplied it by something. Remember, you can turn every number into a 1 simply by dividing it by itself. So to get this second term, remember that this is our second term, to be a 1, we would divide it by 3. And that would equal 1. What you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So we do the exact same thing up on the top. And while this math is very simple, it's always good to double check. So over here on the calculator, I would put in 75 divided by, and you'll see that that slash or grouping symbol actually looks the same as it does in a rate, divided by 3 equals 25. So I go back over here to my equation, 75 divided by 3 equals 25. So what that means is we take this now and we pop it out and we lay it down just as we did with our initial rate. Okay, so we would now have $25 per 1 hour. So that tells us what our unit rate, the unit being 1 hour. So $25 per 1 hour. If we were to do the exact same thing with the remaining 3 questions, identical math used to solve them, no difference whatsoever. 18 streetlights on 3 streets. We would take our rate, we'd flip it onto into a fraction model. We'd go 18 over 3, divide that second term by 3 to get it to be a 1, divide that top one by the same. 18 divided by 3 is 6. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So that would be 6 lights, however we would put that, lights per 1 street. Okay, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. even if you know how to do it, it's important to know the math. So this last one, we wouldn't even need to write it out because we can just simply say, I know that in order to do this, I'm going to have to divide 180 by 4. So I go back over to my calculator, which is now covered in red dots. 180 divided by 4, that equals 45. So I know that I've turned my 4 into a 1 because I've divided it by 4. So I would say it's 45 fish per 1 tank. And there are some rates that you can abbreviate, like hours can be HR. Sometimes you might have to convert meters, etc. Whatever it is that you're converting, just make sure you get that second term to 1. So this is converting or finding unit rates.